This person loses their job all of a sudden and doesn't know what to do. लड़की का बाप लड़के को रिजेक्ट कर देते ये बोल के कि आपके पास पैसे नहीं है. What advice would you give this person?
Only up to 5 lakhs, by the way. After 5 lakhs, if a bank fails, it's gone. Right? That is one more thing that people don't know.
When should a person stop running after money? Is it too late for them to start managing their finances? Somebody loses a lot of money by making wrong investments. What should this person do? So, सबसे पहले तो welcome to Superhits 93.5 Red FM. My name is Priya. I host the afternoon show which comes around 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It's called Red Adda. And with me today is sitting a man who will make me rich. At least I'm hoping. So I've got Sharan with me from Finance with Sharan. And he has made a promise that he helps people get to the top 1% earners. Is that right?
Hi, Sharan. That's correct. Thank you so much for having me here, Priya.
Welcome to the Red FM studios.
And also thank you for telling my name properly, because many people know my surname and they think it's hedge. Right? And then there's also something called a hedge fund, which is sort of like a glorified mutual fund. And most people think that is my name, Sharan Hedge. So you said it properly, so thank you so much for that.
That's what you get when you talk to a Bangalorean. We get our names right because we are exposed to so many different languages, right? So we have to get everybody's name right. Okay, so Sharan, I am going to ask you a story that I am curious about. So when I looked up about your education and all of that, I see that you are a mechanical engineer,
right? And
with like top grades. How did you become a finance advisor and a content creator?
So very interesting story there. So when I was young, I asked my mother, why do people study? A simple question. Right. And then my mom told me, you study because you become rich and you can buy whatever you want. That is the answer she gave me, right? And after that moment after she told me that answer, when anybody asked me, Sharan, what do you want to become? And when you're a kid, everybody asks you, right, what do you want to become? I said, I want to be the richest man in the world, right? And I thought in order to be the richest man in the world, I need to study hard. So I studied. From that moment on, until then I was a very notorious kid, but from that moment on, I started studying, topped all my classes. And then I used to get a lot of money, from my mother, grandmother, when birthdays and all of that. But I used to never spend it. I used to always keep it. Because why? I want to be the richest man in the world. So it was always storing that cash in my bag. Right. By the time I reached third year of engineering, that is when I started thinking, I had 50,000 rupees by then in cash. And I was thinking, what do I do with this money? I don't want to buy anything. That's when I started researching by myself. And then I started off with watching YouTube videos of some of the famous YouTube content creators in personal finance, such as C.A. Rachna and Pranjal Kamra. So these are the guys who I learned from. And then once I started getting comfortable with financial terms, that's when I started reading articles. And by this point of time, it was very easy for me to read articles. And then slowly graduated to books. So that is how the entire transition happened. And even after post-engineering, I didn't go into a core mechanical engineering job. I joined management consulting. I worked at KPMG and PwC. So I was surrounded by people from the top IIM colleges. So talking to them on a daily basis helped me again learn more about finance. So that is how that transition happened.
Nice one. So I'm going to give a little bit of a description of what you do to our listeners. Okay, so like when we are little and we have to learn like ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are these creative set of people who come up with rhymes and animations,
right? And
that's how we learn, right?
Correct.
But maths या finance की जब बात होती है, we get really nervous because it's very boring. Let's just be honest.
Right.
But you make it fun. So you make it relatable to the adult insiders who have no idea कि money कैसे manage करते हैं, but it just breaks it down into simple everyday concepts. Thank you, Sharan, for making such content for people. Okay, so one thing that I noticed was you have 1.5 million Instagram followers, and I think it's pretty recent.
Right.
Is that so? Or was it gradual? How did that happen?
So it happened over a period of 1.5 years.
Okay.
Right. So in the beginning, obviously, it is very slow.
So that was mid-pandemic की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं.
January 2021 was when I put my first reel.
Okay. Right. So a little after.
Yeah.
Not
now we are
after.
in April. Yeah.
But around that time. All right. Okay. Yeah.
So growth, I would say first 2 months, just 500, 600 followers. But then I started started innovating. I started collaborating with other people, not just in the finance space, but also from the comedy space and acting space. So that's how I learned how comedy is done, how acting is done. And then gradually, 2, 3 videos become hits. So for example, my first viral video, which hit 1 million views, was with my sister, where we did a trend. And that over that 1 week period, my followers increased from 800 to 10,000. Right.
Oh.
So that was my first big jump, and that is the most joy I ever had in terms of follower milestone. But then it kind of becomes normal. Only from 0 to 10,000 is the most joy any creator gets, right? And then after
Right.
that, more videos become viral. Then it just happens, right? Then it keeps increasing after that. If you keep making quality content which people like, if you keep entertaining people, like, you should not get complacent after 1 million once. Ho gaya to ho gaya. You shouldn't get complacent. You should
Right.
always try to innovate and keep being a better version of yourself. Never become comfortable. I think that has been the secret.
Right.
Of,
You have, I think, pretty good following on YouTube and LinkedIn as well.
Right.
LinkedIn का बहुत लोगों का account भी नहीं होता है.
Right.
We all want money, but yeah. So LinkedIn पे, what was your journey like, or was it because you became really popular on Instagram and that is why people started following you over there as well?
So in LinkedIn, my objective was to to create content for people who are not on Instagram, right? Almost everyone is on Instagram,
Yeah.
but there are certain number of people who are who don't have that much time to watch videos, or who think that Instagram, you might not learn anything. There's a lot of distraction happening. Most people think that Instagram, you won't learn a lot. Only in the last 2 years, Instagram, in the last 1 year actually, Instagram has become a platform for education content creators. But before that, it was just something like TikTok, right? Dancing and comedy and that sort of stuff. Only recently it has happened. So there are still a large number of people who think that Instagram you won't get education. So I wanted to target that audience on LinkedIn, because these are the people who are very active on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, only written content works. So what I did was I started writing written content of my videos on LinkedIn and started posting that.
Okay.
And that is how I grew on LinkedIn. So that has been the journey.
So 43K.
Yeah, you've done your research. Yeah, 43,000. Yes.
Yeah, out of my job.
Right.
Okay, so I have seen this thing on your, I think most of your social media. You've said this on several occasions, that money gives you the power to choose who you work with
Yeah,
and do what you want to do in life.
that's right.
Is there a story behind that statement, or is it just your motto?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's a particular story. I think it impacts all of us. Every day when we are working, let's say at a corporate career,
Yeah.
every day is not going to be a good day, right? We are not always doing what we want to do, right? Sometimes we get the boring jobs as well, right? And we have to do it because it pays the bills, right? But when you reach a certain level of financial independence, you have the how do I put it? You have little bit of power as to say no to things that you don't want to do. And if you don't have financial independence, you would be thinking like, if I say no to this, will my boss get angry? Will I not get that increment? Will I not get that promotion? So these sort of doubts will be in our head. But once you reach that state of financial independence, you're like, who cares? I don't care. I already have money. I don't care if I don't get that promotion, right? I want to do the things that I want to do, right? So that is that state. I think it affects all of us. Even I have been through that while I was in management consulting. Because management consultants typically, work with Excel and PowerPoint. I love doing Excel work because I'm a numbers guy. But PowerPoint, sometimes what happens is, you have alignment changes are there. 0.1 mm move to the right, 0.1 mm move to the right. These are all, small nitty-gritties, but it's important because it has to become visually appealing.
Correct.
But when this sort of work comes to you, you'll be like, okay, I don't want to do this, right? So that's one of those things in my career. Right, but I'm sure everybody has gone through it. Everybody gets work which they don't want to do, and that's what it's about, right? Saying no to things that you don't want to do. That's number one. Number two is, let's say you're stuck at a job which you don't want to do anymore. You never know. People keep switching jobs, and you're stuck at a job which you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Now you might think like, okay, I have let's say you took a home loan. Now you have to pay this EMI for the next 30 years. So now let's say you are stuck with a bad team, bad job. Now you don't want to take the risk of quitting this job because you have a 30-year home loan, right? So that is another thing. So these are some of the things which how money can have control over your life. So it's very important to reach financial independence fast, so that your life is not determined, not controlled by money. Right? It's not about being a billionaire. It's about understanding that time is a reflection of money is a reflection of your time. Right? The more money you have, the more time you have. It's just as simple as that.
Nice one. Okay, so I will now get into the juicy bit, the one that I've wanted to ask. I've been itching to ask. Okay, so these are finance related questions, and I think a lot of people could use advice from you when it comes to this. I do this segment on my show called as Soch Ka Samna. In that, I once asked a question saying, were you satisfied with all the subjects that were taught to you in school? And if not, which is that one subject that should be included? And a lot of people said that finance related, how to do your taxes and money management kind of topics should be introduced in schools. Now, I know that when I say money management, it sounds like, okay, ये तो छोटा topic है, लेकिन actually it is vast. So how do you think can this be included and taught to kids? Is that even possible, or is there a reason why it's excluded from?
So that is a question that even I've asked myself, why this wasn't taught to us in school. Because if you see, no matter who you are or what you do, right? I mean, there are hundreds and thousands of different professions and hundreds of professions and degrees that you can do to get those different jobs. But at the end of the day, everybody is getting money. And nobody is teaching how to manage that money in school or college, whenever, right? We only start thinking about it once we hit our first salary. First salary also, we buy gifts and let it go. Second salary or not, we don't know what to do. It's staying in our savings account. After our parents tell us something, we put it in our fixed deposits. This is the majority of the people what they do, right? Nobody's teaching us this. So even I don't know the answer to why it is not included. I'm definitely it should be included, and there is definitely scope for creating a new subject which is mandatory for everybody to learn about at least the basics of personal finance. Maybe not to the extent of learning the different tax laws, but at least to the extent that when they finally get money, they can at least understand the articles written about personal finance. They shouldn't be able to. It shouldn't feel like Greek and Latin to them. So what happens usually is when you read an article, if you do not understand what the words are, you won't understand the article. So at least that should be taught in school. That what these different words mean. That's what does inflation mean? What does income tax mean? Why do we pay the income tax? How does the equity market work? How does the debt market work? At least if this basics of this is taught, then finally when we start making money, you can at least understand the literature which is written on that. Today the problem is, no matter how many articles are written, it is only appealing to a small number of people who are finance savvy. Many people think it's not their job, they'll tell the CA. That's it. Khatam ho gaya kaam.
Yeah, because it's too complicated. I mean, it looks complicated. I don't know if it is, but it looks complicated. So we're like, is it thoda sa?
Only small number of people think it is interesting, and I belong to the one of them. I like it. I like to read it because I genuinely think it's interesting. But for the large number of people, it's not, right? And that it is okay if it was any other kind of subject. Let's say if it is organic chemistry. It is okay if 99% of us think it's boring and we don't want to study about it. But finance is not one of them, right? Because it's so important. So you should learn.
So which is the one subject that should be dropped? I'm going to put you in trouble now.
I mean, I hated organic chemistry because I don't use it. My reason for saying that is that is something I don't use it in my life today. Physics I really like, one of my favorite subjects back in school. Even though I'm not applying physics today, I really enjoy the subject because it teaches us how the world works. But organic chemistry was just about memorizing, right? I don't even remember what I studied today, right? At least physics I remember, right? So,
I'll just put it this way, that I think in school it's a nice way to give exposure to everything, thoda. Like people who have interest in a particular subject, they can explore that, and then later they can pursue it. But yes, finance should also be included.
Absolutely.
I think, since everybody needs it and they use it. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. So this was the most popular question that I got. This question was, a lot of people are worried that is it too late for them to start managing their finances? Okay, and these people could range from starting from 30. I think 30 se upar jinse bhi maine baat ki, they have had this fear. I'm 30, I'm 40. Is it too late for me to start managing my finances? Is there hope for me? Would you like to give them some advice?
Right. There's a very simple answer for that. Obviously, if you're 40 and if you haven't started investing, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you're late, right?
Right.
But just because you're late doesn't mean that you can't do it now. No, it's the next best time is today. Right? It's as simple as that. If you're late when you're 40 and you haven't invested a single amount of rupee, you can't just say, life over. You have to start now. That the next best time is today.
Correct.
Right? I cannot give any proper advice because I don't know who these people are, what their circumstances are. Let's say you're 40 but you're making 4-5 lakhs per month. Then though it's fine because you can still reach your financial goals. But if you're 40 and you're making, let's say, 30,000 per month, then it might be a little late.
Let's make it into an average person who earns 6 lakhs per annum is tarah se dalte hain, and this person is about 30. So I think that's the typical ratio that you also take in your videos. We'll hold that. Advise them what can they do to make a start. I think starting is very important rather than giving the whole saga. What is that one advice? How can they start? Where should they start from?
Got it. So 6 lakhs per year, someone who is 30, that is not a bad starting point at all, right? That's a great point to start off from. So I would say, firstly, understand. So the main goal I would say is first understand what your goals are. Most people just blindly save money without knowing what that money is for. So what ends up happening is, let's say they've saved 10 lakhs, and then let's say they have to buy a car, right? Let's say they want to buy a Honda City. Right? Let's say it's for assumption sake, let's say it's 10 lakhs. Now they'll be like, okay, I have 10 lakhs, let me buy it. Right?
Yeah.
But because they haven't charted out their entire financial goals, starting from, how much to save for my kids when I have kids, how much for my marriage, how much for my education, how much for my retirement. Since you don't have that full picture, they don't know how to allocate this 10 lakhs. Now, if I have that entire plan in front of me, then I know that out of this 10 lakhs, I can only afford to put 3 lakhs into a car. I cannot put more. But because I didn't know that, I might put all that 10 lakhs into a car. So first is understanding what your financial goals are, and then to understand for each of those financial goals how to allocate across different asset classes. Now the problem in India today is most people are putting only in fixed deposits, and actually according to an RBI report,
It's safe though, right?
That's the problem, right? People want 100% safety. And being 100% safe is also, there's a risk with that. Because fixed deposit, while it is safe, only up to 5 lakhs by the way. After 5 lakhs, if a bank fails, it's gone. Right? That is one more thing that people don't know.
Really?
Right. It only insures you up to 5 lakhs. Beyond that, it's gone. If a bank fails, but the thing is, the chances of a bank failing is low. Okay, let's assume it's 100% safe for the time being. Now, even if it is 100% safe and if it is giving you 4%, 5% returns, inflation is around 7-8% now. So you are losing money. So there is a risk associated with being 100% safe, and that is a distinction which people don't realize. So first understand what the different investment options are, and if a goal is more than 7-8 years away, let's say retirement, I will retire 20 years from now. If it is 20 years away, then it is very important to invest at least 60-70%, right, in equity investments as well. When I mean equity mutual funds and stocks, if you know how to pick stocks.
So wait, let me come back to the 5 lakhs. So you're saying that if I put 10 lakhs as a fixed deposit and something happens to the bank goes bankrupt, they will give back only 5 lakhs and not 10 lakhs? Right,
that's right. I think FDIC insurance, as per RBI, is 5 lakhs insurance. That is why today most people prefer nationalized banks. If you put in nationalized banks, the RBI will save the bank. That's also there. Let's say if SBI Bank can never be allowed to fail. So one of the biggest, it is the biggest bank in the country, right? Public sector bank. So if that fails, then so many people get affected. So RBI will never let it fail. But instead, let's say the worst happens, World War III happens, right? And then nothing can be done. Then 5 lakh is the insurance that can be given to each person, no matter how much they invested.
So that is an eye-opener, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, at least I didn't know that, and this is a shocker for me, now that I have that much money to put in fixed deposit. But anyway, okay, so moving on, another question that I personally have. When should a person stop running after money? I see these people, the FIRE concept that you spoke about on your videos.
Correct.
The people making retirement plans. I'm like, do you know that itna karne ke baad I'll be satisfied and I don't need to work anymore for the rest of my life? Where does that confidence come from? How much money should a person have? And yes, how do we know it's time to stop running after money?
That's a great question. So you've already done your research. You watched my video on the FIRE concept. So for the audience here, FIRE means financial independence, retire early, right? And that has been a very that's becoming a very popular trend among millennials and Gen Z today.
Yeah.
Because we see our parents working till the age of 55, 60 and then retiring and then enjoying life. And by then, most people wouldn't have taken care of their health, so they wouldn't have the energy also to enjoy life. So we
Correct.
millennials see that and then we're like, I don't want to live this life. I want to retire by 40 at least so that I can enjoy 20, 30 years of my life. So what the concept says is, and it's as per the research which has been conducted by Trinity College in Ireland. So what the research says is that if you identify what is your yearly expenses, let's say I spend 10 lakhs in a year. Now the formula says if you multiply by that by 25, which is 2.5 crores, right? If you have 2.5 crores, is that right? 10 lakhs into 25?
You're the numbers
that's
guy.
right. So if I have 2.5 crores, then I don't have to work for money anymore, because if that 2.5 crores is invested properly, let's say I'm getting even 10% returns.
So 10% of that.
10% of 2.5 crores, 25 lakhs.
Okay.
But my yearly spend is only 10 lakhs.
Right.
So I am only spending 10 lakhs and the remaining 15 lakhs is reinvested. So the money will keep growing. Right? But sometimes there will be down market, you might not get 10% returns. Let's say you get negative returns. So when you average all that out, what the research paper says is that it can last you for a period of 40 to 50 years if you have that much money, and if you maintain 10 lakhs per year, and you can also adjust it by inflation. Right? That is why the money will eventually run out, even though you're only spending half of it. Because first year you'll get 25 lakhs, you're spending 10 lakhs. Then next year you might get 26 lakhs, but you might spend 12 lakhs because of your lifestyle inflation. You want more things, right? Or some things are becoming more expensive because of inflation, normal inflation. So that is the concept. If you have 25 times your money, yearly expenses, you don't have to work for money anymore, because the money that you have saved is enough to sustain for your lifetime. Now that is one aspect of it, and it's very difficult to follow, because once you have 2.5 crores, you'll be like, I want bigger car, I want bigger house, all that happens.
Then we are going to Hawaii and living there.
So that is a normal thing that happens. So one advice I would say is try to limit that lifestyle inflation. So even today, let's say I was since I started content creation, my income, let's say, it has become 10x. Now my expenses have not increased 10x; it has increased 2x. But most people, what they do, they'll increase 10x only. Right? If my income increases 10x, they'll increase expenses also 10x. Right? So that is a mistake which people make. Right? Try to limit it as much as possible. And I also asked this question to Nikhil Kamath, who is the co-founder of Zerodha, and he's a billionaire himself. I went to his house and I asked him how much money is too much money. I asked him this question.
Yeah.
And that is when he gave me this answer, that if you have enough money that you can choose the kind of people to work with and live the life that you want, that means you have enough money. Then after that, mankind's greed has no limit. Right? But if you have reached that state where you can decide the life that you want to live, I think you have enough money.
Nice. So, in short, I am not going to be satisfied with the money that I'm making, sort of thing.
See, after a certain point of time, I think it becomes excessive. So there is a difference in having 1 crore and 10 crores. But beyond 10 crores, I don't think there is a difference. Not that I have 10 crores, let me correct the audience here. But beyond 10 crores...
That was on my list actually.
But beyond 10 crores, it's all about, then it's about going on a private jet, having all that, maybe going to Dubai and staying in the Burj Al Arab, or paying like 2 to 3 lakhs per night in a hotel room. So all these are excessive, right?
Yeah.
So then these are only momentary happiness, right? Because that is after that dopamine comes down, then you want another more version of that. So that is not lasting joy or happiness, in my opinion.
लड़की का बाप लड़के को रिजेक्ट कर देते ये बोल के कि आपके पास पैसे नहीं है. What advice would you give this person?
I would advise, I don't think it's a money issue. If the girl is really worth it, just elope with her. And I am of the personal opinion that you shouldn't spend a lot of money on marriage. And, it doesn't make sense to spend 50-70% of your overall wealth on one day. So if she's the right person and if you want to spend the next 30-40 years of your life, then just elope with her.
Okay. Second scenario. Kids kicked old parents out of the house and now they have nowhere to go. Financial advice for them.
For the parents who got kicked out?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very hard situation. I don't know what has to be said.
You seem hurt. Oh my God.
It's a very difficult situation to be in. I think nobody can predict what happens, right? You give all the love that you give to your kids, and when they grow up, they have a different mindset and they do something like that, right? Firstly, I would say it would be a huge psychological trauma when something like that happens. But by then, to sustain yourself,
the fire plan.
Yeah, the fire plan, even to protect yourself from kids who are like this. But yeah, apart from that, I don't know what can be done.
Okay, another typical Bollywood situation. This person loses their job all of a sudden and doesn't know what to do.
A person loses their job all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, and does not get back on his feet.
So to prevent yourself from this from happening, it's very important to have something known as an emergency fund, which is having 6 months of your monthly expenses saved in liquid assets. When I mean liquid assets, I mean savings account, cash, and in liquid funds, right? So in 6 months, that gives you enough time to go to the next job, right? But if you do not have this much amount of money left, then you will have to go back to your parents' house and stay there.
Okay. Somebody loses a lot of money by making wrong investments. What should this person do?
I think this person who was losing a lot of money by making the wrong investments, right?
Yeah.
I would say first try to assess what the damage is, why it has happened, try to learn from why this has happened and avoid it from happening again. And then maybe it's because they were very aggressive and high risk taking. Maybe they started investing in options and futures and strategies, right? Options and futures without understanding what it is. So maybe they lost a lot of money there. So maybe avoid that for some time. At least first build your core portfolio first. So that's what we say, right? If you are not someone who understands investing, most people, they want to get rich fast. Everybody wants to get rich fast, right? So understand that first, build your core portfolio first, and only experiment or gamble with not more than 10% of your money, right? First, build that core portfolio. So that is the advice I would give when they start rebuilding their wealth again.
And the last one, very heart touching. So the women of the family, they put their jewelry or girvi, and they fund the education or any dreams of their children.
Right.
Is that the right approach, or could they do something better?
I would say what ends up happening is most people, when they need money desperately, they don't have money in savings account, they don't have money in fixed deposit, and then the only option that remains is getting a gold loan, right? Give that gold and get a loan for that. If you have a fixed deposit, most people don't know this, you can also take a loan against your fixed deposit, and that interest rate is much lower than what you can get through gold, right? So that is something which people don't know. But if you don't even have a fixed deposit, then this is the next best option, because personal loan has very high interest rates, like 14-16%. So at least gold loan you can get for like 10-12%. So that would be the option. But if you have a fixed deposit, try to get a loan against that first.
Nice one. Thank you so much, Sharan, for speaking with us and sharing so much
My pleasure.
knowledge with us. A couple of interesting things that we don't even think about. That's something that you brought out today. So thank you so much to you for spending so much time and spending with us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and the studio setup looks amazing. Never thought I'll be in one of these. So thank you so much for having me here. It was wonderful sharing my thoughts with you.
For best entertainment, subscribe to Red FM Bengaluru page. For more updates, press the bell icon.